It sure is nice to come home at the end of a long day and enjoy a podcast. But you know what makes the experience that much better? Relaxing with a few puffs of smoke from my McQueen pipe. At McQueenPipes.com, I was able to find the perfect smoking pipe to suit my nerdy, yet dignified sensibilities. I especially love that each pipe is designed and handcrafted by a true artisan, and that all of their pipes are inspired by fantasy books and movies like The Lord of the Rings. Being a bit of a hobbit myself, my pipe is called the Barrel Rider, but they've also got pipes for wizards, rangers, dragon riders, or even goblins. If pipe tobacco isn't your thing, no worries. McQueen Pipes has got you covered with attachments for vaping or even cannabis. Head on over to McQueenPipes.com and use the code BIOGRAPHERS at checkout to receive 15% off of your entire order. Go ahead. Treat your nerdy heart to something you'll cherish and enjoy your podcast listening experience in style with a McQueen pipe. That's Mac like mac and cheese and Queen like the band. McQueenPipes.com and use the code BIOGRAPHERS at checkout for a 15% discount on your whole order. Cheers, everyone, and happy podcasting.
I do hope you can see me today from where you are.
Ich bin ein Feeling.
If I'm generally anything, I guess I'm generally miserable.
This modern world of science and invention is of particular interest to women.
The people, I would say, there is no patent. Would you patent the sun?
I regard myself as a soldier, though a soldier of peace.
Welcome to the Biographers.
There. No, move to the left. Okay, you have to put this on. No, you have to put the right over the left. And I was just like so worried about messing up some like ritual aspect of this relaxation thing. But it was a total blast.
That sounds so stressful. That sounds like the opposite of relaxation. It's like, you have to relax. It sounds like a Nazi way of relaxing.
Yes,
you know
it's like
I mean?
very much like...
If you're going to relax, you relax like this.
oh, yeah, 100%. Luckily, like, it was pretty chilled. These people were very used to having like Westerners stay there. Like they had some English-speaking concierges and stuff like that. And there was one Japanese lady who was the sweetest. She was like a little gordita, a little chubby, right? And we were like, this lady knows where to eat, right? We're gonna go and find some good recommendations. And she found this noodle shop for us that was amazing. It was like this broth, like delicious chicken broth with foraged mushrooms from the area in the noodles. And it was just like, you know, served by these old ladies that like would have been like 3 times in a retirement home if they were American, right? And the food was just so good. But we did get a laugh out of her because I realized this later. The reason why everybody knew that we were a couple was because we both have septum piercings. And they're like, oh, they must be together. Look at their noses. And she asked about Shalena's septum piercing, and Shalena just snapped it out and was like, it's really easy. It's just like a little hole right here, and you can... And she pops it out, and then he goes, ah! Like that, because she had never seen a septum piercing, and she like cringed and shivered because she's like, I can't believe that.
I also feel like at a different place in the world, at a different time in history, somebody saying, you must be together, look at your noses.
No,
could go very badly.
Yeah, that was my grandparents' generation.
Yeah, right.
No, but it was great, man. It was great. I loved it.
That's awesome. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Biographers. I'm Daniel Newman, hanging out in person with Akiva Miola.
What's up, y'all?
We are actually at Akiva's house this time. We normally, or at least not normally, I'd say at this point, probably 90% of the time, though, we record remote because...
Mm-hmm. We're like 40 minutes away, and we're both busy, and our schedules are opposites.
Exactly. There's been many a week where we're just like, dude, I got 3 hours. Can we just do this? And we go. So we both work full-time jobs. So yay, we're together again.
Hooray.
And we're both together after a couple of cool trips. Akiva went to Japan. I just went on a work trip to Philadelphia, and it was awesome. And I think everybody from Philly probably knows. But it's funny, though, because I just heard Alton Brown saying this thing about if you want to have the best version of a certain food, don't go to where it's from.
Yes, I saw this where they're like, you don't go to Buffalo for buffalo wings.
Right.
You don't go to Miami for a Cuban sandwich. And I was like,
but I
don't know.
Alton, I think you might be wrong, dude.
Philly is really good.
Because one, the Philly cheesesteak I had was I mean, just dynamite. It was. I've been thinking about it ever since. I almost, before I left, got another one, wrapped it up in foil and put it in my suitcase to take home. But I was like, I really don't want all my clothes to smell like beef and cheese for a week and a half. So I'm not going to do that. But again, I mean, I've had quite a few Philly cheesesteaks around in different places, and I've never had a better one than the one in Philly. So I don't know if Alton Brown is correct. I've also heard from several people, you know me, I am a big Cuban sandwich fan. It is top 5 favorite foods ever for me.
I will tear up a Cubano. Even with my pork restrictions, I will make some exceptions for that one.
Yes. And I have heard from several people that the best Cuban they've had is in Miami. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, Alton. I'm not really sure here. You know, I also feel like I think it's almost impossible to say, if you want good Mexican food, don't go to Mexico. Like,
okay, I think this is the better thing to say, is the tourist district of an area is not going to be a good representation of the food. Like when I was in Japan, there's this area called the Tsukiji Fish Market. Back in the day, that's where they used to auction tunas, right? Tunas, so for like $20,000-$40,000. You've probably seen a video of it.
I have.
Now it's the best way to start a trip if you're ever going to Tokyo, because it will give you just the most crazy culture shock that you are definitely not in Kansas anymore, because you walk in there and it's basically the carcass of this giant building has been gutted out, and now there's hundreds of vendors, maybe thousands of different vendors selling all sorts of different stuff. So it's definitely worth a go. The people who say it's a tourist trap, they're full of shit. But the reason I bring it up is because it is meant as like everybody's first stop when they go to Tokyo. That's not going to be the best place to find Wagyu beef. You're going to pay close to American prices for it. But when I was in Takayama, which isn't very tourist friendly because it takes like 4 hours to get up there. Okay. When you get the beef there, it's like 500 yen. And it would be a cut of beef that if you were in the United States would cost you like $20. And 500 yen right now is like, what, $350 US?
Whoa. Okay.
The exchange rate, I miss it so much. I miss it so much. Everything is just priced the best. Like there was these coffees, which if any of my listeners happen to ever go to Japan and just want to send fan mail, please send me a Boss latte coffee, because they just come out of vending machines. They're better than the Starbucks little gas station lattes. They're not good coffee. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is it's 75 cents US and you can get it at the corner of every building. But yeah, like that's the whole thing. It's just like, yeah, okay, don't go to the tourist part of Miami if you want a Cuban sandwich. But if you're in Miami and you happen to go to a place that sells Cuban sandwiches, chances are it's going to be delicious. If you get one right on Ocean Drive, it's going to cost Ocean Drive money and be Ocean Drive good, which is just like, meh, right? And I think the same thing goes for Philly. It's like if you're like by the Liberty Bell and you go to get a fucking
I mean, I don't know. That's the thing. And we do have to move on because there's a lot to cover today. Got a lot to cover. But I will say last thing about it was that I went to what I believe is to be, Philly people don't hate me. I can't remember the name of it. It's in downtown. It's like a big marketplace. It's got all different types of delicious food. And inside of that is a place called Uncle Gus's Cheesesteaks. And that's what I got. And I mean, I've heard of a couple other places like Woodrow's and stuff like that I got recommendations to go to. But I'm sorry. I just like, I'm sure if I was an aficionado, I would be like, oh, I don't know, Uncle Sam's isn't one of the best. But I will say, on the last day that I was there, my Lyft driver, I was asking him about it. And I said, oh, I went to Gus's. And he goes, oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. And I was like, oh, I hadn't really heard much about it. And he goes, it may not be one of the like, you know, new kids on the block that are just like smashing down doors and making waves. But he was like, to me, it's one of the best Philly cheesesteaks in the city. So like,
sometimes there's an established, like Katz's Deli, right, in New York, where it's like, yes, that's a tourist spot, but it's also Katz's Deli, so it's going to be delicious because they have a reputation to uphold. Exactly. So maybe, Alton, you might be wrong about this one.
And you know, far be it from me to question the wisdom of Alton Brown, because I love that man. True. But I don't know if I agree with that one. But anyhow, let's get going. Like I said, there's a lot that we got to cover today. So just before we get going here, quick reminder for everybody, if you want to support the show, you can do so by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thebiographers. You can throw us a couple of dollars. We'd really appreciate it. And then if you're feeling generous and you want to give us a nice little review somewhere, you can do that on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or hopefully anywhere you get your podcasts. We would appreciate that too. So with that, you ready to get going into Mark Twain Part 5?
Dude, I'm stoked. You had such a great episode last episode. I'm really pumped.
Well, I mean, look, I still think this episode is going to be interesting. It's not going to be as adventurous as the last one, but it is going to be good. So hopefully we can keep on a good path here with with Mark Twain. He's still my favorite character I've ever covered. I said this off air, but I'll say it one more time, and this will be the last time I ever say it. This might be my favorite series, including my own. You're too kind. You're way too kind. But anyhow, so just before we get started, I want to make a really quick note. It bothered me when I was editing the last episode. At the very, very end, I was mentioning an upcoming book of Mark Twain's, and I said it was called The New Pilgrim's Journey, not The New Pilgrim's Progress. So if there's any nerds out there like me that heard that and went, hey, hang on, it's not Journey, it's Progress. I don't know. It was a typo, and I was tired. I don't know what was going on, but just wanted to correct that really quickly. All right, now, last time, we saw Sam Clemens fully step into the shoes of Mark Twain after publishing a revolutionary short story called The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County. The success of the short story opened up a new world of writing opportunity for Sam, and the newspaper he worked for soon had him shipped off to the Sandwich Islands, aka Hawaii. His experiences in the Sandwich Islands proved to be so fruitful that Sam decided to start performing on stage, regaling to live audiences the exciting and humorous tales of his adventures. Eventually, Sam made his way to New York with hopes of having collections of his short stories published, but had no luck, and he grew depressed. After a friend recommended he attend a church service at Plymouth Church in Brooklyn, led by the most famous preacher in America at the time, Henry Ward Beecher, Sam learned that a group of Christians were organizing a trip through Europe and the Holy Land. And Sam jumped at the opportunity to go along, with the whole trip being paid for by his newspaper employer from San Francisco, who wanted Sam to write articles about his experiences. Now, where we left off last time, Sam and his stuffy group of travel companions crossed the Atlantic Ocean, traveled through Europe, and were starting their travels through what they called the Holy Land. Now, Sam was none too impressed by the utterly shameful behavior of his companions, who regularly stole artifacts from religious sites and completely ignored every native who needed help.
I thought this was just so funny. This is what my favorite part of the last episode was, just the sheer unbridled yet probably true irony, definitely true irony that he experienced while he was there.
100% true irony. Now, in the world of Mark Twain, there are embellished aspects, but he was on record at several points saying, like, he would never do it to the extent that it was an outright lie, more of a stretch of something.
Yes.
But I do believe that he
seems to like play pretty close to the truth.
He does. And at the very least, in this instance, there was not much lying.
These people were just ridiculous.
Because he was skewering real people. So, like, they had the ability to refute it. And we'll not really talk about it a whole lot, but spoiler, nobody really came forward and refuted it. They were just like, hey,
that was me.
That's not quite what
I said. I would pay him $5.
Right. It was always kind of that thing. So anyways, and to that, they were even denied a boat tour across the Sea of Galilee because their group leader, as you just said a second ago, was a cheapskate and tried to haggle the tour fee. Now, Sam had enough. He was seeing the group in a new light, not as religious pilgrims, but as tourists who simply wanted to say they had been to these places so they could go show all their friends back home just how religious they were. The gloves were coming off. When they arrived in Jerusalem, a tour guide started taking them all over the place to see supposedly holy sites. When they got to the quote-unquote tomb of Adam, Mark Twain sarcastically wrote, quote, "There is no question that he is actually buried in the grave which is pointed out as his, because it has never yet been proven that that grave is not the grave in which he is buried."
It's like the saying where it's just like, I've never died, therefore all evidence suggests I'm immortal.
Yeah.
Just like no one said it's not his grave.
Nobody's proved that it's not, so that's the proof that it is. Like,
you can tell this is an aspen tree by the way that it is.
At every new holy site, various members of the group would supposedly become overwhelmed with emotion and dramatically show their anguish. But Sam saw right through it. He would sarcastically write, quote, "The fountain of my filial affection was stirred to its profoundest depths, and I gave way to tumultuous emotion. I leaned upon a pillar and burst into tears. I deem it no shame to have wept over the grave of my poor dead relative. He died before I was born, 6,000 brief summers before I was born, but let us try to bear it with fortitude."
It's just like, and I apologize to anybody who finds significance in this, but as a Jewish person, the whole speaking in tongues thing, the hamala shamala thing, what are we doing? I look at that and I'm like, you just got the zoomies. You're like my dog who's on the couch. You just got the zoomies. You're a little excited and you just want to let it out. I watched a video, which I think you would love, just off of this tangent, is Religion for Breakfast, theologist.
Oh, you've told me about this.
Mm-hmm. Really great. He just did a whole thing about snakebite Christians in Appalachia.
Yep. Very
similar thing where it's like, come on, put it down. You don't mean it.
I know. And I don't even want to go into it anymore because y'all can draw your own conclusions. You're smart people. Oh, this is good. Now, when the group went to Bethlehem and saw the Olive Garden, where supposedly shepherds saw angels on the day of Jesus' birth, Mark Twain noted with annoyance that, quote, "After seeing the site where angels had appeared, the pilgrims took some of the stone wall and hurried on." Like, oh man. Yeah. There's not much else to say about that. Dude. Now, the end of September was approaching, which meant the trip would soon come to an end as well. Now, I do think that secretly Sam enjoyed the trip, but all of his notes seem to indicate the exact opposite. Of Galilee, he noted, quote, "dismal and repellent." Of the Dead Sea, he noted, quote, "it is a scorching, arid, repulsive solitude." Of Palestine, he noted, quote, "desolate and unlovely." Of the Holy Land in general, he would write, quote, "no second advent. Christ been here once, will never come again." Which
Jesus,
is one of my
1-star review, would not come again.
It's one of my favorite Mark Twain quotes ever. Is he goes to the Holy Land and is like, I mean, I think you all get the joke, but it's like, this place is so terrible that Jesus wouldn't come again for that reason. Oh, which to me is amazing.
That's hilarious.
Now, of the entire trip as a whole, Mark Twain would later say, quote, "the lesson of the excursion was a good one. It taught us that foreign countries are excellent to travel in, but that the best country to live in is America after all. We found no soap in the hotels in Europe, and they charged us for candles we never burned. We saw no ladies anywhere that were as beautiful as our own ladies here at home." I hear that, brother. But he also saw the value of the entire experience and would say, quote, "if there is a moral to this story, it is an injunction to all Americans to travel. I am glad to go abroad. It does me good. For it enlarges my charity and my benevolence. It broadens my views of men and things. It liberalizes me to travel. You never saw a bigoted, opinionated, stubborn, narrow-minded, self-conceited, almighty mean man in your life, but he had stuck in one place ever since he was born and thought God made the world and dyspepsia and bile for his especial comfort and satisfaction. So I say, by all means, let the American go on traveling and let no man discourage him."
I like that a lot.
It's pretty cool.
I like that a lot. He's like, there's no place like home, but man, you got to get out there, because if you just stay where you are just going to think the world revolves around you.
And honestly, I think that's one of the most valuable modern lessons too, where, not trying to pick on anybody here, but I do think we're at a point in time in history where there's a lot of people with really nasty opinions on things, right? Exactly like he says, bigoted, opinionated, stubborn, narrow-minded, self-conceited, mean. And he's basically saying that generally is only going to come from somebody who stays in one place and never leaves.
Yeah.
So if you get out there and experience these other places, that's going to change you.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think this is amazing that it's coming from think this was like 1867 at this point.
And it's still deeply relevant.
Deeply. Now, the trip back home was tense. The passengers on the Quaker City were tired of each other, but were even more tired of Sam. Unbeknownst to all of them, however, was that Sam had already started to submit articles about the excursion back to American newspapers. And what Sam had to say was none too kind. In late October, while the group made a pit stop in Gibraltar, they managed to obtain a September 19th copy of the New York Tribune, which contained an article that didn't exactly skewer the passengers, but it did enough damage to make the rest of the journey home extra tense.
Whoops.
Because they all kind of knew now. They were like, oh shit, he's been taking notes and he's publishing them. Like, they thought they would go home and be like, we were so great. We helped out so many people, blah, 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 blah. And here's Mark Twain going, no, you didn't. You didn't do any of that. Like,
I was there the whole time.
I was watching you people from the minute we left, like, kind of a thing. Now, Sam was equally sick of his fellow passengers and would write to a friend at the time saying, quote, "This pleasure party of ours is composed of the deadest, rustiest, most ignorant, vulgar, slimy, psalm-singing cattle that could be scraped up in 17 states.
Damn.
Yeah. But mercifully, on November 19th, 1867, the ship docked in New York Harbor and the journey was over. Sam basically ran off the ship straight to a hotel where he freshened himself up, walked over to the offices of the New York Herald, and composed a 2,500-word tirade to be published the next morning.
He was trying to get ahead of them.
No lag time in him being like, I gotta tell you all about this.
Wow.
Now, the skewering had officially begun. The next morning, the passengers of the Quaker City would pick up newspapers with an article written by Mark Twain that said, quote, "The Pilgrim's progress is ended, and they can talk about it from now till January. Most of them are too old to last longer. The venerable excursionists were not gay and frisky. They never romped. They talked but little. They never sang, save in the nightly prayer meeting. Such was our daily life on board the ship. Solemnity, decorum, dinner, dominoes, prayer, slander. It was a funeral excursion without a corpse. There was not genuine piety enough to offset the hypocrisy, but I bear them no malice. I was exceedingly friendly to a good many of them. 8 out of 65. Oh, man.
He was ready.
Dude,
he was fucking ready.
Locked and loaded. He had massive amounts of journals of just like notes and notes and notes and notes and notes of all this kind of stuff, man. Now, for the next 7 months, Sam published articles about his journey, and they were a sensation, with one literary critic writing, quote, "There are varieties of genius peculiar to America. Mark Twain is a striking specimen." Basically saying, this guy's a genius.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Now, it was on December 1st, 1867, just one day after Sam turned 32 years old, that he received a letter from the American Publishing Company. They wanted Sam to write a book to be published, and he was beside himself with excitement. Now, this book was sure to change Sam's life, but just a few weeks later, on New Year's Eve, even more so than his future literary success would provide, Sam's life would be truly changed forever. He had plans to meet up with one of the few Quaker City passengers whom he got along well with, a fellow by the name of Charlie Langdon. Now, that night, they had tickets to see an author read from his latest book called David Copperfield. You may have heard of this author. His name is Charles Dickens.
Whoa. Wild.
Now, though Sam absolutely loved seeing Dickens powerfully read from his novel, the true gem of the evening was in meeting Charlie's sister, Olivia.
Uh-oh.
Now, he was already vaguely familiar with Olivia, as Charlie had a small carved ivory portrait of Olivia, which Sam had seen while traveling abroad. Charlie carried it with them while they were on the Quaker City together. Mm-hmm. But seeing Olivia in person, however, sent Sam over the moon, and he was smitten almost instantly. So yes, everybody, a little bit of a spoiler here. Mark Twain's first date with his future wife was watching Charles Dickens on stage reading from his latest book.
That's so cool.
that's the history goosebumps for me, man.
Yeah, man.
Of like, I couldn't even believe it.
It's so funny when I don't know what, you know, the biographers of 20 or 2,226, 25 are going to look like. But I just feel like the social circles for the famous at this point in time are just small enough that no matter where you are and whatever country you live in, you have probably rubbed elbows with other famous people. It's just this incredible, I don't know, tight-knit community.
Yeah, it's amazing. And for what it's worth, everybody, in case you're ever curious, Mark Twain, Sam Clements, he described Charles Dickens reading like he was performing a play. So if you can imagine him on stage, in this case, it was David Copperfield, but even if it was like him reading from Oliver Twist, it was like watching a guy perform Oliver Twist as a one-man show.
That's so cool.
Like, that's how Charles Dickens was. He had such a booming stage presence to him, really dramatic and like ferocious kind of a thing, which is even cooler to imagine.
Yeah.
Charles Dickens reading his own book on stage like that. It's just so cool.
That's so cool. And then, so he meets, what was the name of the girl?
Her name is Olivia Langdon.
Olivia Langdon.
We're going to talk a lot about her as we move forward
Nice.
in this entire series. It's beautiful. Yeah, we'll talk about it. But before he could make any grand romantic plans, first things first, he had a book to write. Olivia, however, was not quick to leave his thoughts. Now, regarding his book, one matter still needed to be settled, which was the price Sam would be paid for his work. He was by no means a businessman, so he sought negotiating advice from none other than the most famous preacher in America, Henry Ward Beecher, who is now a good friend of Sam's. Now, Henry was apparently a pretty astute wheeler-dealer and said to Sam, quote, "Now here, you are one of the talented men of the age. Nobody is going to deny that. I'll tell you what to do and how to do it." Basically like, trust me, bro, I got you on the money.
That's wild.
Which, no comment.
Yeah.
No comment. We're just going to move past that.
Yep.
Now, it proved to be just the confidence boost he needed, at first denying the $10,000 buyout that the publisher suggested, which is worth roughly $200,000 in today's currency.
Wow.
Instead, he pushed for a 5% royalty deal, kind of taking a bet on himself.
5% is really big, too.
Which reminds me, by the way, there's a famous Hollywood story of Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and they were going to make the movie Twins. And I'm fairly positive it was Danny DeVito who said to Arnold Schwarzenegger, "Don't take a check, take a royalty. Mm-hmm. Don't do it. I promise you." And I think it was either 5 or 10%. And Twins ended up being this massive hit.
Yeah.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger made I think it was like in the neighborhood of hundreds of millions of dollars off of Twins. Like, it was so big because it was all of the royalties moving forward, VHS sales and everything.
Yeah.
So
it reminds me of Tesla's whole thing with royalties, which was very unfortunate, where she had 10% revenue per horsepower for motors. And you know how many motors we have in the world now. He would have been the world's first trillionaire to have ever earned it. But as you were saying.
But with that, Sam got to work, pushing himself often to the point of exhaustion. And this whole kind of saga, by the way, really did remind me of Tesla in how he was pushing himself to the brink to get this work done. So just wanted to throw that out there. Mm-hmm. Now, even with all of the letters he had written over the course of his trip abroad, they would only account for about 250-ish pages of the 600 pages required by his new publisher. So he really needed to get cracking.
Yeah.
And the public at large weren't all in favor of this new Mark Twain character who was taking jabs at good Christian folk. One preacher called him, quote, "the son of the devil."
Classic.
While another held up a newspaper during a sermon and said, quote, "This is the weapon of cowards. The letters of this person, Mark Twain, who visits the Holy Land and ridicules sacred scenes and things, I condemn his puerile attempts at wit and miserable puns upon subjects that are dear to every Christian heart." And we know this quote because little did that preacher know, Mark Twain was actually in attendance at that morning's sermon.
Bugs fucking Bunny. That is so funny. How does he's just in the background of every scene. It is literally, wow.
And he introduced himself afterwards saying, like an absolute gangster, quote, "I feel that I deserve everything which you have said about me, and I wish to heartily thank you." stone cold, dude.
That's so funny. That's so hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
God, that guy has such even just like him. Somehow it's like if there is predestiny, it's like his predestiny had a punchline. Yeah. Where it's just like Mark Twain happened to be there. It's like a perfect setup for a joke, and he didn't even know it.
Oh, I know.
I love that.
Right place, right time, many times.
many times.
Now, he pressed on, performing absolute marathon writing sessions to get his book done. But finally, on June 17th, 1868, he wrote to his publisher saying that his book was finished. Initially, he planned to call his book The New Pilgrim's Progress, as a tongue-in-cheek reference to and I cannot understand this, very popular Christian book from 1678 called The Pilgrim's Progress. And it was a very important Christian book.
Yeah.
I would liken it to, if there's any Christians out there listening, to like in the 2000s, there was a book that came out called A Purpose-Driven Life. Mm-hmm. Every Christian you ever knew read this book and were like totally affected by it, right?
Interesting.
This is kind of the New Pilgrim's Progress. So he comes around and says, I want to call it the New Pilgrim's Progress, as a very like, all of the Christians would have known. They would have been like, wait, what? Kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So it was very like, whoa, take it easy, buddy. That would have
been funny too, because I bet you there would have been a couple of Christians who just weren't aware and ended up picking it up at the bookstore and realizing what they were getting into.
Funny and very, very possible. Now, the summer turned to winter. Sam's book was in the fine-tuning phase before publication, so he figured it was a good time to get back into lecturing. And this has nothing to do with anything. It's just amazing. Around this time, a former booking agent, a man named Frank Fuller, started to get into the rubber manufacturing business. And apparently, one of the things he was making were condoms. Now, when Sam heard about it, he wrote to Frank saying, quote, "Please forward 12 odorless rubber condoms. I don't mind them being odorless. I can supply the odor myself."
Oh my God. Dude.
It's so gross.
Gnarly as fuck. Why?
I couldn't not include that. I was like, I can't fit this into the narrative, but I have to include this. It is too funny.
That's so, God, wow. Every time, you can't make it up.
Oh my God, he's so good.
And then, like, rubber condoms, this has to be a fairly new invention as well.
Oh God. Office hours. I'll have to look up the history of condoms.
He's just got a wisecrack for every new development as the world changes. I love it.
It's so good.
I can supply the odor myself. That reminds me of Napoleon writing to his wife saying, "I return in 3 days. Don't shower."
Oh, that is so gross. So then, in August, he decided to take a trip to meet up with his old pal, Charlie Langdon, with obviously the ulterior motive of seeing his sister, Olivia, too. Now, since the moment he saw her, an imprint was made in Sam's mind, and he just couldn't seem to forget her. Olivia Louise Langdon was born on November 27th, 1845, making her almost exactly 10 years younger than Sam. Her family was wealthy, as her father, Jervis Langdon, was something of a coal mining baron and owned an entire railroad system to boot. So the dude was rolling.
Gotcha.
Now, in spite of his considerable wealth and devout Christian beliefs, Jervis and his wife, also named Olivia Sr., they were passionate and dedicated abolitionists, even prior to the Civil War, going so far as to found their own church in 1846 specifically to ensure there was no "the Bible supports slavery" nonsense being preached.
Interesting.
In fact, this is so cool. The Langdons were even volunteers of the Underground Railroad. And during its operation, they helped hundreds of refugee slaves escape to Canada. Even more amazing still, in 1838, the Langdons personally made it their mission to help a man and his wife escape bondage, a man who would later become an author, international speaker, and symbol of abolition.
I know it.
A man named Frederick Douglass.
Dude.
Goosebumps, bro.
What the fuck? How does this keep happening? Also, hey, props to evil oil baron guy being super progressive.
Yeah.
Wow. Overground railroad, underground railroad, underground, you know?
I can't say it's single-handedly, but I can say Mark Twain's in-laws were very responsible
for the freedom
for
of Frederick
Douglass.
Fucking Douglass. That's so cool.
I mean, it's just so cool, dude.
Which, yeah, of course, if you haven't read Frederick Douglass's, book, you absolutely should. I've considered doing a biography on
He's
him.
on my list too,
but he's done a great biography of himself, so I'm not even sure if it's necessary.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just such a cool freaking fact. Now, okay.
Yeah.
So by default, Olivia Langdon Jr. followed in her parents' footsteps, maintaining staunch religious beliefs and abolitionist values. Sam absolutely loved the Langdon family, writing to his mother around this time, quote, "This is the most pleasant family I have ever known."
How old is he roundabout?
32.
Okay.
Yep. So she's 22 at this point.
Uh-huh.
So
that's pretty
fine.
reasonable.
That's fine.
32, 22, we're okay.
Right.
And they
I
also
agree.
met at that age too, so
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's actually like, I think, is that like, can we ring the bell for like the most ethical relationship age gap so far in biographers' history?
No, I mean,
Probably.
we've had plenty of fine relations. Ian Fleming,
I thought his wife was like 20 years younger.
She was younger, but it wasn't scandalously young.
No,
she wasn't like
okay.
15 or something like that.
Okay.
Not like friggin' Jack Daniel at the end, who was
Jack
like,
Daniel.
this 15-year-old is pretty hot. It was like,
Yeah.
dude, Jackie boy, calm down. Like,
Da Vinci, who else?
right.
Yeah. Well, Tesla never married anybody, but
Yeah. Now, Olivia stood in stark contrast to Sam. She was proper, religious, dutiful, smartly educated, spoke Latin and Greek, and in her spare time was studying philosophy and chemistry. And she was beautiful. She really didn't get Sam's sense of humor or his jokes, but she had no hesitation in putting Sam in his place. But much like Sam, she loved reading. The only other thing to note about Livy Langdon, and by the way, that's how we're going to refer to her moving forward 99% of the time, because that's how Sam called her. He called her Livy, not Olivia. The only thing to note about her was that she was frail and prone to illness, which would plague her for the rest of her life. So just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind is that she was not necessarily sickly, but like prone to sickness. You know what I mean?
gotcha. Like not a great immune system, kind of tuberculosis-y.
Right. And if she got sick, it like hit her harder than most people would get hit with sickness. Okay.
I bet you that won't show up.
Well, we'll get there. Now, it may sound strange, but Sam was in love. It didn't take him long. Within a week, he knew he felt something he had never felt before and asked Olivia to marry him. But a correctly horrified Olivia said no and that she would pray for him every day.
Damn.
She's like, no.
Stepped on that
barely
rake.
know you.
He's like, marry me. What was your name again? Oh, okay.
But why did she say no? Well, first, at the time, it was proper for an upper-class lady to say no to the first proposal, especially if the man had not asked for the father's blessing first. But second, and more importantly, Sam just didn't strike her as marriage material. He was funny in his own way, sure, but he wasn't proper. And he was an outsider, flew in the face of convention and established norms. But Sam would not take no for an answer. Over the next year, he would write more than 184 love letters to his darling Olivia, or Livy as he called her, bearing parts of his soul even he never knew existed. In his very first love letter to Livy, he would say, quote, "I do not regret that I have loved you, still love you, and shall always love you. I accept the situation uncomplainingly, hard as it is, so henceforth I claim only that you will let me freight my speeches to you with simply the sacred love a brother bears to a sister." It was kind of Sam's way of keeping his foot in the door so that he could slowly but surely prove his undying love for Livy Langdon.
Okay, that is respectful. When you said he wouldn't take no for an answer, I thought it was going to be that classic story of like, oh, me and your grandfather, I didn't like him, but he threw a brick through my window and told me I had to go out with him. I thought it was going to be one of those. But he's just like, no, I I understand that this isn't really your thing, but you can throw it in the trash if you want, but I'm going to send a couple letters. This is going to tell you a little bit about myself so that maybe you can understand why I had such a reaction to meeting you the first time. Listen to them if you want or don't, but this is me bearing my soul. I like that. That's very
agreed.
I don't know.
I would imagine that a lot of listeners get this because I got it. Where like when I was, I was probably 13 years old. Lydia Teague, if you're listening, she knew. Okay. Oh my God. For like 6 years as a teenager, I was just pined over this girl. Right. Mm-hmm. And she wanted. It wasn't nothing to do with me, but she just wasn't interested, right? Yeah, and no matter how hard I tried, no was the answer from her. Mm-hmm. And so it kind of got to this point where I was like, oh, fine, then can we just be like best friends? Mm-hmm. Right? And she was like, oh, okay, fine, sort of whatever. I think that was a similar situation with Sam and Livy, where Livy was like, dude, I don't know about this. And Sam was like, okay, fine. But how about we're like close like brother and sister? How about that? And she was like, all right, fine, continue to write me.
Yeah, I'll read them, but I'm not promising anything. Yeah.
And it's we'll read a little bit more of the letters later. But he was, dude, head over heels.
Yeah. Also, her interests are kind of, I would say, unusual for her class at this time, being into chemistry, which is, for those of you who don't know, was considered one of the gentlemanly arts around this time. Yeah. Like Percy Shelley, you would have a gentleman's chemist set. Mm-hmm. Most people who were upper class would buy, Erlenmeyer flasks and other things to try to just mix random goos together to come up with new substances and whatnot. That's typically reserved for men at the time.
Correct. And we'll talk about this a little bit more. Olivia Langdon was a true to form like feminist. She wanted equal rights and she was in favor of women's rights and wanted to advocate for them. And in one of the letters, I didn't include it in my writing, but in one of the letters, Sam basically says something to the effect of like, I'm glad I don't get to spend as much time around you because I'm afraid of the weird plumes of smoke that you create from your chemistry experiments. It's pretty awesome.
That's funny.
But for the time being, Sam busied himself with his lecture tour, which was now approaching 40 bookings throughout the Northeast, while writing more love letters to Livy any chance he got. His new lecture tour was called American Vandal, which recounted portions of his journey through the Holy Land and sent waves of controversy across the East Coast. Throughout 1868, this was pretty much life for him. He toured around giving lectures, visited the Langdons when he had some time, and wrote letters to his beloved Livy. The Langdon family, however, were split in their opinions of Sam. Her father, Jervis, really liked him, and the two were known to laugh uproariously together constantly. But he trusted his daughter's instincts and insisted that she pursue whoever made her happy. Livy's brother Charlie liked Sam well enough, but probably saw him as a novelty friend more so than a good match for his sister. So he kind of was against it.
He's like, you're funny, but I don't know if you're funny enough to be my brother-in-law.
Right. Or even further than that of being like, oh, I've got this guy. He's the best because he's irreverent and sort of disgusting. And like, he's a riot and we get drunk together. And then you find out
he wants
sister. My sister.
And you're like, no, get the fuck away from me.
Go away. You are not right for her. Like, it's that type of a situation.
I feel like every dude has had that situation, especially if you have a sister that was considered popular or pretty.
Yep, totally.
Where you're like, oh man, you're the best. Oh, you like my sister? I'm never talking to you again.
I mean, yeah, basically. Now, Livy herself remained unconvinced, but Sam's unrelenting devotion to her was, little by little, chipping away at her heart and winning her over. Sam was so lovesick that he bordered on depression. It took a full year of talking, writing letters, and occasional visits, but finally, on November 24th, 1868, after a serious conversation with both Jervis and Olivia Sr., Sam asked Livy Langdon for her hand in marriage one more time, to which, at last, she said yes. Sam was beside himself with happiness and wrote to a friend saying, quote, if there were a church near here with a steeple high enough to make it an object, I would go and jump over it. It was cute. It was very sweet.
That's cute.
Now, Sam just couldn't help himself. He was hopelessly, desperately in love with his new fiancée. From this point on, Sam's love letters to Livy would shift in tone akin to a schoolboy rambling on about his sweetheart. This is so sweet. To give you a taste, here is an example of how Sam Clemens would forevermore write to his beloved Livy Langdon. Quote, "My dear, dear Livy, when I found myself comfortably on board the cars last night, I said to myself, now whatever others may think, it is my opinion that I am blessed above all other men that live. I leave my fate, my weal, my woe, my life in your hands and at your mercy, with a trust and a confidence and an abiding sense of security which nothing can shake. I do love, love, love you, Livy. You are so pure, so great, so good, so beautiful. How can I help loving you? How can I keep from worshiping you, you dear little paragon? I listen for a dear voice. I look for a darling face. I caress the empty air. Goodbye, and I send 1,000 kisses. Pray send me some. P.S. I do love you, Lily. Livy. P.P.P.S. I do love, love, love you, Livy, darling. P.P.P.P.P.S. I do love you, Lily. I keep saying Lily, Livy. You can see the guy, he's just like...
Golly.
And it makes me so happy, too. Because as a guy who's been pretty unlucky in love his whole life, like...
You find the person, and it's just the perfect match, and it just...
There's nothing like it, man.
Yeah.
It's the best, you know? Wow. He was just like...
God, don't you wish people wrote like that these days? I do. You know, like just saying, I love you, hun. It's not nearly enough, right?
Agreed. It was like a stupid example, but Kat and I have been watching through the new season of Love is Blind, which is in Denver, right? And there's a point that this guy writes a love letter to the girl that he's interested in, right? And it was to the effect of like, I really like how we talk, and you're really cool, and I wish that we could hang out more, and I'm really glad that we're getting to know each other. It was that type of a feeling, and I literally said to Kat, I was like, that is like the worst love letter I've ever heard. And she goes, why? I said, there was no sentiment. There was no like, I've never felt this way. I've never experienced a love like this where I can't think straight because of how much I'm thinking about you and how much I just want to be near you, even if we're just sitting on a couch together doing that. Like, it was none of that. It was just this like practical.
It is cool when we go outside. Yeah. It's like a third grader talking about why they love their mom. They're just like, she makes me sandwiches.
Right. She's so cool and makes me happy, and she's really nice. Like, and that's, man, you read this letter from Mark Twain to his wife, and it's like, dude, the guy is smitten beyond smitten.
I know. That's delightful. That's really delightful.
I know. It's adorable. Now, the only real problems Sam was currently facing was in fulfilling a few promises he had made to the Langdons as a condition for marrying Livy. Now, first, he promised to truly and sincerely become a Christian.
Oh.
He was trying his best. He dropped into church sermons wherever he could. He talked to pastors and sought spiritual guidance, but nothing really seemed to stick. He would write in a letter to Livy at the time saying, quote, "Why is it that godliness flies me? Why is it that prayer seems so unavailing and all my searching and seeking a mockery? I study the Testament every night. I read anything touching upon religion that comes in my way, but a chilly apathy comes upon me at last." He just couldn't force himself to believe in something no matter how hard he tried.
Yeah.
Which I can empathize with.
Yeah, he's not destined for that. That's not him.
Now, the second condition of his marriage to Livy was that Sam needed to provide character references to Jervis Langdon.
He's like, well, I got a Dick Stokeham, and I think there's a guy that I bailed out of a bar once. I'm sure he would write me a letter or something if he... Well, actually, no, he's illiterate.
You're kind of not wrong. Sam reached out to a handful of people back west whom he thought were of high caliber and whom he considered friends. But sadly, almost everyone Sam cited to Jervis as a reference came back with only terrible things to say.
No! What? Like Mark Twain, that asshole? Is that who you're...
Dude, this is rough. One person even wrote, quote, "I would rather bury a daughter of mine than have her marry such a fellow." It's like, Jesus, dude.
Sam, I'd I'd rather fucking kill myself, dude. I'm gonna be really like,
Straight up, dude. But like, I don't know, imagining that person who wrote that too is like, oh, this guy reached out because like Sam said I would be a good person to give him a reference, and even that was just like, no, do not do this.
That's so fucking funny.
So mean.
It's like you had like a buddy at an old job that you like call to like as a reference. Like you work at a restaurant. He's like, yeah, Kiva. Yeah, I remember Kiva. He was great. We used to just smoke weed and we didn't do anything.
I think we actually stole money from the company.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, like we just had whole roast chickens that we just never served to anybody. We just ate them in the back room. Anyway, what were you asking?
Oh man. But this is amazing, okay? Seemingly, the depths of the Langdons' hearts just had no bottom. When Jervis received back all the letters, he sat down with Sam, read him most of the responses, and said, quote, "What kind of people are these? Haven't you a friend in the world? I'll be your friend myself. Take the girl. I know you better than they do." Which is like a tear.
Yeah.
Dude, like...
Man, it's just like giving that person the chance, dude. Yeah. I know you've definitely met somebody like that in your life. Like
my father-in-law.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that I don't have friends. I do, but like my father-in-law, I feel like is that for me of just like, dude, we're buddies. You know, you like from this point forward, you and me, man. Like, and he's just been an amazing guy, you know? So to me, again, I've told you this many times that I connect with Mark Twain's story on so many weird little detailed levels or whatever. And this is just another one of those examples. And it's not to say that like, you know, her parents were just like, I don't know about this Daniel guy. But again, I felt it. You know what I mean? It was just very sweet.
Dude, that's killer.
Yeah. And with that, the engagement was fully on. It was now January of 1869, and they were now planning on getting married in February of 1870, so just about a year later. Now, Sam continued to tour around the country performing his lecture, but was becoming exhausted. His book was also in trouble, as the board of directors at his publishing house weren't exactly thrilled with the relatively blasphemous nature of his book, so the publication date kept getting pushed back. But by March of 1869, Sam's grueling lecture tour was over, and he was spending hours on end with his beloved Livy as the two sat side by side editing proofs of his soon-to-be published book. He had even compromised on the title. His publisher was nervous that The New Pilgrim's Progress would be too controversial for the public at large, so Sam proposed a new title, The Innocents Abroad, or The New Pilgrim's Progress. The book was gearing up for publication, the public was growing excited, and all of the 240 illustrations made for the book were ready for print. Ooh. So it was all fully illustrated.
That's cool.
Super cool. But the publisher continued to drag their feet, and months would pass with an increasingly frustrated Sam waiting for his book to be printed. Finally, however, on August 11th, 1869, Sam received a sample copy of his book, bound in black cloth and embossed with gold lettering on the cover that bore the book's title, in addition to small illustrations of the Sphinx, the pyramids, and St. Peter's Cathedral. It's worth looking up. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Next up were the reviews. About a month prior, samples of the book had been sent to various newspapers, and reviews were slowly starting to drop. At first, they were positive but humble. But as the weeks passed, more and more reviews grew louder and louder with their praise. The Hartford Courant said, quote, "Very few will be able to read it without laughing at least half the time." The National Standard in New Jersey said, quote, "We had no idea so much humor, wit, geniality, fine description, and good sense could be contained within the covers of any one book." The Meriden Republican in Connecticut said, quote, "Mark Twain, always interesting, has out-rivaled himself. It is instructive, humorous, racy, full of quaint expressions that make you laugh unexpectedly and before you are quite ready." The New Jersey Register said, quote, "The narrative is instructive, and the descriptive passages are some of the finest in the English language." Basically, every critic agreed. America was about to receive a new classic.
Dude. It's also so funny to hear these reviews too, because it's, I would argue, one of the first comedy books in America and some of the first comedy books in the English language, you know?
Dude, we're
besides
the
like
whole
some
next
Shakespeare
paragraph,
stuff, right?
I'm going to talk about it.
And it's just like, it's really funny them being like, it's interesting when I read the words, my body does a thing and I start to exhale rapidly. I don't know why this is happening.
Yes. And we're about to go into a whole bunch of detail as to why. Okay. So what made The Innocents Abroad so special? Well, up to this point, American sensibility when it came to literature was mostly based on English sensibilities. In many ways, American authors were trying to mimic European writing in a kind of, come on, coach, I'm good enough to play on the team kind of way.
Yeah.
And the literary voice of America had not yet truly been found. Humor, according to the literary elite in America at the time, was reserved for small newspaper articles and occasional cartoons, but not meant for novels. Humor, according to them, had nothing to do with elevating or understanding life and the human condition. Humor was anti-intellectual. But with almost one fell swoop, Mark Twain shattered that perception. One critic at the time wrote, quote, "The author is not straining to be funny. He is not trying to make a joke book, and there is nothing in it of that painfully unnatural sort of wit that is so wearisome." Another wrote, quote, "It is genuine, native humor. Not what is merely remarkable for its vulgarity or insipidity, but a real crisp, tangible wit." Another wrote, quote, "The writer sees the humorous side of everything, but is not lacking in power to be sober and wise and even eloquent." It was kind of like America had only ever heard the comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who was forcing jokes on people, but they were now hearing a new comedian named Bill Burr, who was simply being himself, observing life, and it was naturally funny.
Yeah, yeah. I liked that. I liked that last review where they were just like, it's not... It's like you said, native humor. He's not just trying to be funny and like this, like, I could have to crack it. Oh, that was the review that really stuck with me, actually, was them talking about how
it's not a joke book.
He could be serious. It's not like he doesn't understand the gravity of the situation of them being at the Sea of Galilee with all of these Gilded Age people.
Right.
But he's choosing not to be. Ask yourself, why is he choosing to be funny in this situation?
Right.
It's not a person who can only make dumb jokes. It's a person who's choosing to make dumb jokes when they could have written a serious book. Why?
Right.
That's what's interesting.
And if people out there are fans of modern day comedians, you'll hear a lot of things about how, like, you know, comedy is choosing to see life with a smile. It's a lens through which you're seeing these sorts of things. You know what I mean? That was basically Mark Twain's invention.
Okay. This is like hitting a vein. You ever have like a conversation that just keeps replaying itself over a course of a couple of weeks? I've been having this with like avant-garde movies, like really artsy films. I was like, I feel like whenever I'm watching these, it's always, I don't know, like sad porn, right? They show you in the same way that, you know, pornography shows you a naked person and that causes arousal. They'll show you a sad thing and then that makes you sad. And that's somehow artsy, right? Where is the artful, avant-garde, really artistically driven movie that is an argument for optimism, right? That isn't a Disney movie. It's a genuinely sober consideration for something funny or something happy or something positive. And basically, Sharon, who lives with us, he's a total cinephile, right? He has a great storied amount of movies and stuff like that. I asked him, I was like, I want to watch those artsy movies that you want me to watch, but I want it to be positive. And he was like, oh, wow, that's actually harder to find. And I feel like Mark Twain is kind of in that way where it's like, he's not just making the Kevin Hart yucks, right? He is giving you a genuine argument for optimism, a genuine argument to see the bright side of things, to see the funny side of things. And it comes from an intellectual, human-driven experience as opposed to like what you see a lot of the times with like, I don't want to shout out A24 too much because some of their films are great, but a lot of the times they will be like, we know how to compel somebody to feel really strongly, and it's by showing them something that's fairly grotesque.
Right.
Versus it's really hard to like make people, especially very jaded people, like really just happy to live, happy to be enjoying life. And the cheap comedy doesn't do it. Right. You have to be an intelligent person. And like I said, make an intelligent argument for joy. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%. And
just been a thing that's been going on in our household we've been talking about. And I feel like we just hit that nail right on the head in this conversation. And I just figured I should bring it up.
No, 100%. And if you're curious, really, Mark Twain was the guy that invented that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, this was a long time before movies were being made or whatever. So in the world of novels, period, full stop, that this wasn't done.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever done this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there had been things that were written prior that were funny, that were jokey, but that was the point of it, was jokey. Mark Twain, again, it was like a modern comedian, that he was looking through his experiences
like
and
a Jon
finding
Stewart-y
it
sort of way, yeah.
witty.
Mm-hmm.
And I even write all of this. The Innocents Abroad proved that humor was actually an enlightening lens through which you could observe the world and your own personal experiences.
Bingo.
That laughter was equal in emotional power and went hand in hand with pain and sorrow. And that truly great writing was not limited to drama.
Bingo. Dude, that's so crazy. I feel like just those synapses just fired right now in this conversation. It's been that thing. It's been like why I love the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once, or, you know, say what you will about the new Superman movie. I love the new Superman movie for the same reason. It's an educated argument for positivity. It's an educated argument for humor and love and laughter and liking life for more reasons than what you see in a shitty Lin-Manuel Disney movie, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. I could not agree more. And The Innocents Abroad marked a true turning point in American literature and its exaltation of the humorist. And it wasn't just the critics who loved it. Everyone else in America seemed to as well. In its first 18 months alone, The Innocents Abroad sold 82,524 copies,
Ooh.
which earned Mark Twain a royalty just in that 18 months of $16,504, which is equal to roughly $410,000 in today's currency.
82,000 books in the U.S. is like every literate person in the U.S. at this point.
I mean,
like,
we're kind of not wrong.
It's like, wow.
Now, as 1869 rolled into 1870, Sam was on the rise. His book was doing great and his lectures were selling out constantly. Then on February 2nd, 1870, the cherry was added to the top of his metaphorical sundae when, at last, he and his beloved Livy were married.
Oh, wow, dude. Sometimes all bad things come in three, and so do good.
Now, the wedding took place at the Langdon household with some 75 guests in attendance. The next day, Sam, his new bride, the Langdon family, and a handful of friends all hopped on a train and headed for Buffalo, New York, with the plan being for them all to vacation/honeymoon together. Now, the Langdons had arranged for Sam and Livy to stay at a modest boarding house in Buffalo, and a private carriage drove them from the train station to 472 Delaware Avenue. Sam was perplexed. This was no modest boarding house, but a gorgeous two-story brick house with arched windows and a balcony. The newlyweds walked into their vacation house in awe, and just as they started to comment on how lovely it was, all of their friends and family started to burst out of the side rooms and closets, cheering. It was a setup. This was not their vacation house, but their new permanent residence purchased for them by Livy's parents.
Oh, wow.
I know. Makes me emotional.
Don't we all want that, right? Man.
And it wasn't just the house. It came fully furnished and included stables, horses, a coach, and a staff of servants, all paid for by the Langdons.
Whoa. This dude married up.
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
he went from poor kid in an overalls to...
You're teeing me up here and I love it. I'm gonna talk about that in just a second here, and it's good stuff. And it's all of this is these cool cause and effects, and I can't wait to share with you. Okay. Now, when Jervis Langdon handed Sam the deed a moment later, Sam joked that this whole thing was, quote, a first-class swindle. But the moment of levity quickly turned into a teary-eyed Sam, overcome with emotion and gratitude, thanking the Langdons and telling them they were always welcome. My little heart just melts over this, man. Like, again, I said it earlier, but like the depths of the Langdons' heart just has no bottom.
Yeah.
They ignored all of the references and were like, no, we know you. We believe in you. You're great. Here's a house. Take our daughter. She's brilliant and beautiful. We go for it, buddy. Like,
I mean,
come on, dude.
It's somebody investing in IBM right as it hits the market, right? They just found this person that, by all evidence, would be the worst pick for their daughter, and then just happens to be an American classic, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the biggest names in the history of America. Like, it's unbelievable.
Also, once again, weirdly nice oil barons.
I know. Now, about 2 days later, after the dust had settled and Sam had time to take in just how far he had come from his earliest days as a boy running through the streets, back alleys, and woods of Hannibal, Missouri, a great nostalgia started to take hold of him. He decided to write his oldest friend, Will Bowen, whom we talked about briefly in episode 1 of this series. He was his first best friend, and they remained friends for all of their lives.
That wasn't the inspiration for...
No, Will Bowen, he was an inspiration.
Older brother, right?
No, are you talking about Huck Finn?
Yeah.
Huck Finn was inspired by a local vagabond boy whose name is escaping me right now. But in Tom Sawyer's best friend, I can't remember what his name is off the top of my head, is based off of Will Bowen.
Gotcha.
So not Huck Finn, but he did write a character after it.
Gotcha.
So he decided to write Bill Bowen a letter. Now, he started the letter by saying, quote, "My first and oldest and dearest friend." And what followed in the letter was a passionate 500-word trip down memory lane, recalling the mischievous boyhood the two had shared together. In it, he wrote, quote, "We tore down Dick Hardy's stable. Since old General Gaines used to say, 'Whoop, bow your neck and spread,' which I know sounds gross, but it just means he's going to give him a spanking. Since Jimmy Finn was the town drunkard, since Clint Levering was drowned, since we used to undress and play Robin Hood in our shirt tails with lath swords in the woods on Holiday's Hill on those long summer days, since we used to go in swimming above the Stillhouse branch, since I jumped overboard from the ferry boat in the middle of the river on that stormy day to get my hat, while all the town collected on the wharf and looked out across the angry white caps of waste towards where people said Sam Clemens was last seen before he went down, since Owlsley shot Smar, since Laura Hawkins was my sweetheart." So it's like reminiscing about all these lovely little days. Now, Sam didn't quite know it yet, but he was inadvertently laying out the framework for one of his most famous works yet to be written. Pretty cool. So, life began for Sam and Livy Clemens on 472 Delaware Avenue, and they were happy. Livy was even starting to find Sam funnier and funnier as they spent more time together.
Which, okay, this is something I feel like if you're like one of the funny guys, sometimes you have an attraction to the one who doesn't laugh at your jokes. It's like that's Shalane and I. I thought I was very smooth. I thought it was very, like, I don't know, simpatico, charismatic, right? But like, when Shalane and I first got together, I'd like lay down one of my like, and then she'd be like, "That wasn't very funny," and I was like, "I have to be with this person." I don't know why.
Like, you want to easy laugh.
I need to get a laugh out of you. I need to make you laugh. Think I'm romantic or funny or hot or something. I just want you to react the way that I'm expecting you to, and you never do. I think, I bet you he felt the same way.
Yeah, because when somebody who initially doesn't think you're that funny ends up laughing at one of your jokes, you're like, "Oh, earned that one." Like,
yep.
I found the thing.
God, making Otto laugh is like so hard, right? The bar is so high. And then when you do it, it's just like, it hits.
Totally. Now, Sam would spend hours banging away at the piano, and he was actually apparently not bad. And he'd be singing silly songs and acting like a goofball. Livy even started to call him the Youth as a cheeky nickname. So she would like not only call him in letters, she'd be like, "My dearest youth," like basically like my boy. You know what I mean? Because he's just such a silly, goofy guy. Yeah,
that's so funny. That's adorable. God, that's so cute.
It's adorable,
God,
right?
It's so picturesque and beautiful. Ugh.
Now, Livy's overall properness was now finding more room for playfulness with every passing day she and Sam spent together.
It sounds like a rom-com.
Now, I personally think she finally got laid and was now more relaxed than ever, but just saying.
You're such a dude. Come on. It was all romantic and you had to just mess it up.
Hey, well, we're going to talk about that in the next episode, but these two are so horny for each other.
Are they really?
Oh my God. Like, seriously. And it's beautiful.
Just imagining Mark Twain being horny, I'm like thinking like a cartoon where like the bib of their shirt starts to roll up and then the tongue starts going out and the eyes look like slot machines. Like, that's the only way that I can imagine him. It's kind of like have you ever seen Will Ferrell's wife? Right?
Yeah.
Not my type, but extremely conventionally attractive,
sure.
Right? I'm just like, how do you, like, when he's over you in bed, how do you not just laugh? Because he's just got that thing about him where there's no way that you could take him seriously. So that comes to me as a surprise for Mark Twain, because I have the same thing of him where I'm like, funny, charismatic, handsome, but sexy. I don't know.
Well, I don't know this about Will Ferrell, but like we already kind of saw it. He has an extraordinarily tender side to him.
That's true.
That's like...
And as a lady, a lot of the times they tell me, like, you know, it's not just the looks, right? Pete Davidson was like everybody's crush for like 2 years.
Right.
And that guy looks like a line cook. It's about the personality, right? If you're laughing, your eyes are closed. And
so, yes, I think he was just an intelligent person who loved to make people laugh, but was also very deeply emotional.
And I think now, like, this very sort of prim and proper, but she's got a humor, right? This prim and proper lady is like actually getting to spend time with him in their new home and listening to his funny jokes. And she's like, damn, maybe he can get it. You know, like, I mean, okay, he's funny.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes that's what sells it.
Now, they would even write letters together, okay, which is really adorable. Sam would sit at his desk writing a letter, and Livy would sit on his lap and then snag the pen away from Sam at sporadic moments to interject in his writing, okay? Like in one example, Sam wrote to a friend saying, quote, and you have to hear this with a bit of humor, I have got Livy trained so that she tones down and almost, with the word almost scratched out, stops talking at the word of command, at which point Livy snagged the pen and wrote, quote, I deny it, I am women's rights.
That's so fucking cute. It hurts.
It's pretty great, right?
God, how sappy.
And wouldn't you know it, only a few months later, Livy was pregnant.
Oh, there we go.
Now, as 1870 rolled on, Sam's popularity was growing steadily, and he soon started to write a newly created humor section called Memoranda for a newspaper called The Galaxy. Now, this proved to be just what the literary doctor ordered for Sam, as he was now free to write smaller, more razor-sharp sketches and commentaries. In one of my favorite examples, Mark Twain took aim at a Brooklyn minister named Thomas DeWitt Talmage, who had moaned about working-class men who showed up to his sermons with B.O. Mark Twain would sarcastically write in reply, quote, we have reason to believe that there will be laboring men in heaven, and also a number of Negroes and Eskimo, and a few Indians, and possibly even some Spaniards and Portuguese. All things are possible with God. We shall have all these sorts of people in heaven, but, alas, in getting them we shall lose the society of Dr. Talmage.
God, could you imagine being like, oh, these working people, how dare they go and come to my church
and smell a little, like, and that was basically what he was saying.
Sorry,
he was like,
I just got out of the forge. What do you expect?
Right, and that's basically what he was saying. Is he was just like, oh no, we're gonna have smelly people of all kinds in heaven. Oh, but if we do, we're not going to have the society that Dr. Talmage is saying that he wants to have. Like, it's just like, shut up, dude.
Shut up.
Yeah. So, but sad news, however, was on the horizon. In May of 1870, Livy and Sam received a letter from her father, Jervis. He was dying. For several years, he had been battling stomach cancer, and the end was near. In early June, the two would go to be with Jervis Langdon for his final months. Then finally, after months of unrelenting pain, on August 6th, 1870, Jervis Langdon would pass away after muttering to Pastor Thomas Beecher, brother of Henry, quote, Beecher, I'm going home. Which makes me a little misty, I'm not going to lie.
I thought he was going to say Beecher. I hardly know her. And then die. No, that'd be Mark's line.
That's a good one.
Anyway, wow, that's really sad.
I know.
Because he was such a benefactor.
He was generous and love, and he seemed
like a mensch. He seemed like a genuinely good guy.
I think he really was. You know, I mean, fuck, the guy was an Underground Railroad volunteer and helped bring about Frederick Douglass.
How many people can say
Lord. Oy. Now, Livy was overcome with grief after losing her doting father, and Sam was too. Remember that he and Jervis were extremely close friends by this point. But of Jervis's $1 million estate, Livy would receive $300,000, roughly $7.5 million in today's currency. Yeah, bro.
Wow.
Like,
they had a full Green Acres. Wow.
Yeah. Now, to distract him from his grief, Sam began to dream up what his next long-form writing project might be. He was thinking it might be a good idea to write about all of his experiences out west. Just a few weeks before Jervis's death, Sam had signed an agreement to write a second book for his publisher. So within a few months, Sam had written more than 20 chapters for his new book that was tentatively titled Flush Times in the Silver Mines and Other Matters. And Sam had plenty of time on his hands, as Livy, who is now more than 6 months pregnant, was bedridden from exhaustion. And remember, she was always kind of prone to sickliness, right?
Yeah.
So it was a really, really hard
Just
pregnancy.
Bad immune system.
Now, a few months later, the first Clemens child would be born at 11 a.m. on Monday, November 7th. It was a boy, and they named him Langdon. Her maiden name.
Yeah.
Now, he was a month premature and weighed just 4.5 pounds, similar, if you recall, to Sam's own birth.
Oh, true. Yeah, he was preemie.
And everybody was like, not sure if he was
going to make it.
Make it. Now, Livy was still desperately weak and struggled to get out of bed, so a wet nurse was called in. But Sam was ecstatic to be a father, but secretly had doubts as to whether or not his son would survive. Just like Sam.
Yeah. Wait, didn't Sam also have to have a wet nurse because his mom was sick as well?
No, his mom just said she would do her best to take care of him because people were like, I don't think he's going to make it.
Oh, okay.
Now, the first few months with Langdon were not easy. Sam was finding it hard to keep himself motivated with his new book, and Livy was not only still recovering from the birth of their son, but she had recently caught typhoid fever.
Oh, no.
For at least 3 months, it was Sam's job to keep up the house and care for little Langdon.
Oh, no.
In March of 1871, they decided they'd had enough of Buffalo. So they sold their house, the one that was gifted to them, and they moved to Elmira, which is the home of the rest of the Langdon family. That's where he would always go to visit the Langdons. Now, Livy was still sick, so she had to make the move on a mattress inside of a carriage. But once they arrived, Livy started to recover. Sam's writing started to accelerate once again, and he started churning out some 200 pages a week.
I don't understand that. What? 200 pages? How many Sam Clemens are there? That's like Brandon Sanderson level writing. Wow.
Now, there was like a note in my research that basically said like our definition of 200 pages is going to be different from his because it's all handwritten.
Handwritten versus 12 point. Yeah.
But even then, the thought of writing 200 handwritten pages a week, my hand would dead.
Fall off.
Like,
I do not have my carpal tunnel is way too bad.
Yeah, dude, it would hurt. I think my pinky would fall off. It'd be numb, you know.
Yeah.
But classic to Sam. He had his fair share of self-doubt in his new project, but close friends who read the work said it was great, which spurred him on to keep writing. Now, things were progressing, but little Langdon's health was always shaky, and there were several points they thought he wasn't going to make it. But through it all, Livy became pregnant again, and Sam continued to make progress on his manuscript while also preparing for a new lecture tour. A new era was about to dawn for Mark Twain, but it would be a rocky road. His new lecture tour would yield his first ever bomb, as modern comedians would describe it. And his personal life was about to receive a heavy blow. Though his up-and-coming book would come to be considered a classic, it would not be as commercially successful as his first. Coincidentally, the book's title would also perfectly describe this next chapter of Sam's life. The book would be titled Roughing It.
Hmm.
And that's where we'll pick back up for part 6 of Mark Twain.
Come on, you don't have any more for me? Dude, that was great.
But I've
we'll keep it for the next
Yeah.
one. We'll keep it. We've gone through so
more.
much. We've gone from him, getting off the boat from his American Vandal series to finding a new, first really significant love of his life and the love of his life.
Yep.
God, such a cute story. Them learning, because with older marriages, they don't quite get to know each other until after the wedding, it seems.
Totally.
And it's very adorable that they're in this big, Beauty and the Beast mansion of a house. And she's slowly warming up to his nonsensical ways. And he's slowly becoming a little bit more serious. And they're meeting each other. It's very, very Matthew McConaughey 2000s rom-com movie.
I know. And like I told you at the beginning of the episode, it's not as exciting as the last one that was we're running all over the world and seeing all kinds of stuff or whatever. But I love this because it's
he's getting what he deserves.
Personal. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's he's settling down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he's also seeing he was getting pretty popular prior to this and he was having some good success, but nothing on the scale of being dude, wait, I made $400,000 in the first 18 months of this book's sales.
Yeah.
And I will say this too. I didn't really talk about this a whole lot, but just to throw it out there for everybody's knowledge, the way that most book publications happened around this time was through subscriptions. It made it so that the publishing houses could make more money over time.
Gotcha.
And they would go to these different houses and say hey, this new Mark Twain book is coming out. Do you want to subscribe? And they would send it to them part by part. Mm-hmm. And they would end up having 12 parts to the book.
That's how Mary Shelley's Frankenstein books came out. It wasn't just Frankenstein.
Right.
It was, you had your first couple of chapters in one little booklet, and it's almost like comics in a way, or magazines where you sell the book in part and parcel because that was the best way to keep up with the kind of the slow process of printing, and also gave the writers the most amount of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is also, by the way, just for context for the next episode too, that's how Roughing It is also published, is in these sort of
magazine-y sort of things.
Subscription-based things or whatever. And then once it had its run and people were oh, the subscription is kind of run dry, then it would go out and be much more formalized books that you could go.
Yeah, it's almost exactly like a comic book series where you can buy the individual comics or you can get the the thickies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just want to throw that out there because it wasn't worth explaining in any specific detail. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, to me this was one of those that was I don't know, I just loved seeing him get happy,
what he
it's fall in love, and it's so important, you know.
And it's a pattern that we've seen with a lot of the biographies that we've done so far, where it's your 20s are you are always late for everything. You're never fast enough. You're never good enough. There's missed opportunities. You're stressed out. Weird scenarios happen. And then you hit your 30s. And if you've played your cards right, things start to line up. Things start to get easier for you. Maybe you find the person that you love. You find your true calling with your career. Things are starting to lock into place, and that seems to be very much the case with Mark Twain right now.
Yeah,
which I love.
Yeah,
God, this is such a good series.
That's not to say that there will not be more travel in the future. There absolutely will, but yeah, I mean, I think that Innocents Abroad trip was such a
so good,
wild, funny, random.
Yeah, and it's funny now too,
of,
because now that he's wealthy, he has a change in perspective of again. Where what he might have considered a mundane day-to-day thing, which was his experience living in the West, is now he realizes for the people living on the East Coast, the people with the silver spoons, that's a very novel experience.
Yes.
And perhaps it's an experience that other people might want to hear, which is how we get to the Tom Sawyer and the Huck Finn and all that.
And we're gonna start to touch it toes at a time. We're gonna be getting into this. But hopefully you can kind of all see how I'm laying out the framework here of it's amazing. It's almost like he spent so much time trying to escape his upbringing and his childhood and run away to these other places, see other things. And he's finally now gotten to that point 15 years later where he's going remember that time when we were a kid and we did that thing? That was honestly one of the funnest times I can remember. He's getting to that point of nostalgia, and we're going to talk about this more in the next episode, but there's this story that I'm going to share where he finally gets it into his head that he goes it's not about writing a book for children. it's about writing a book through the eyes of children, where that's one of the reasons that Tom Sawyer is so magical when you read it, is that it's not even just like they speak like kids, their perspective is childlike, where Tom Sawyer and all of his gang, they're not thinking about
the war or the socio-political goings on. They're thinking about like, oh, this is my buddy Jim and we want to get out of here. And I want to, Or
there's a part in Huckleberry Finn, and we're going to get there way later on. But there's a point where in Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer tries to get a gang together, and he brings in Huck Finn, and they're all like asking, all the gang is saying to Tom Sawyer, like, what are we going to do in the gang? And he's like, well, we're going to murder people, and we're going to kidnap them, and we're going to hold them for ransom. And they go like, what's a ransom? And he goes, I don't know, but they're always doing it in books. Like, so again, it's through that, like that lens
pure
of
innocence.
Right. To them, murder isn't even murder. It's them. It's like, no, we're going to run at you with a stick and say, put them up. And then we're going to run away laughing. Like that. So it's like that perspective that he starts to gain over time. And it's through this lens of nostalgia. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's
and now
so
that he's
cool.
in this position, he gets to look back and realize. And I was talking about this again. A thing that one of those conversations that's been floating around for the next couple of weeks or the last couple of weeks is like when you get like, and I'm realizing this now as I'm getting older. I know I'm the baby of this show, but as you get older, you realize that everything that you liked when you were 12 was actually the coolest thing ever. Yeah, like Superman is awesome, race cars are cool, swords are fun, fantasy's cool. And you kind of get to go back and now have a newfound appreciation for it as you get older, where it's like before you're like, no, I'm mature. I don't like that. And I was like, no, I actually really like video games and I like toys and I like, like, 100%. And I feel like he's kind of the same way. He's like, I've seen the world. I've traveled. I'm married. I have a kid on the way. Do you remember playing with sticks? That was the best.
Honestly, like that. And again, we're going to see more of that as time goes on in the next episode. But we're going to talk more about that and kind of how he gets into that inspiration side of things. And I don't know. It's great. And I don't want to give away any more spoilers because I'm looking forward to the next episode too. So we'll wrap it up there. I'm feeling this is going to be a relatively long episode. There was a lot of info in this one that I wanted to get in. So hopefully y'all enjoyed it.
I know I did.
Beautiful. So we'll leave everybody there. But again, for anybody that is interested in supporting the show, you can do so by going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/thebiographers. If you want to be extra kind and give us a review somewhere on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, we'd appreciate that as well. For any questions, comments, corrections, you can shoot us an email at thebiographerspodcast@gmail.com.
And we are compiling a pretty good list of emails that we're really excited to talk about in the office hours. We've got some great messages from some great new listeners, which I'm really excited to give a shout out to at the end of the series.
And even some with the teaser of one specific listener too has sent in kind of their own personal history they've discovered, and it's really cool, and I'm really excited to share it.
Yes, I forgot about that. That's going to be great.
I already got permission. They said it's totally fine. We can read all the information, and I'm excited to share that. So stay tuned for Office Hours. That's not going to be for another good handful of episodes here because we're still trucking along here with Mark Twain.
How many do you think this is going to be?
I mean, it's going to be 9 or 10.
9 or 10? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, because I am starting to discover, like we always do discover with our research, that generally, big generalization, first 30 years are the most exciting. There's the most events. And then the latter portion of the life is a lot more like
finding yourself and then the slow descent.
Right. Exactly. So, but there is still a lot of information. There's still a lot of cool stories and just things that Mark Twain gets up to. And there's going to be a whole episode where we're basically going to be, I mean, I would imagine at least 20 minutes of the episode is just talking about context for things like Huckleberry Finn, why it's important. I'm going to try to get in a lot of things like quotes from actual Black historians, not Daniel White guy. I think this is cool because, but like actual people that are part of that representation going, no. Here's why Huckleberry Finn is actually really super important. So
I just had a conversation with a professor at MSU who was one of my students in my most recent class. And he also totally agreed that Mark Twain is very misrepresented in what his understanding of, progressivism at the time was.
Correct. And I really, it's important to me that is very well understood. So we'll get into all that as time goes on. But as always, Akiva, what do you got for us on the world of metal?
Okay, so as of right now, we still have a couple of knives left on the website. These, seemingly according to my schedule, are going to be the ones that you can get for you or your loved ones for the holidays. Don't delay. Order them now. If you use the code biographers, you can get 10% off your order. That includes any custom orders. I have maybe 2 or 3 slots available for any custom stuff if you want it by the holidays. Once again, don't wait for the last minute. This is going to be an excellent, handmade, handcrafted gift that will last decades if taken care of, right?
That's metalworkbymiola.com.
Yes, metalworkbymiola.com.
You did
right?
not say it at one point. I was like, dude, say it.
Yes. Metalworkbymiola.com. 10% off if you use the code biographers. The holidays are coming up. They're way closer than you think. Now, if you want to make your own knife, I can't guarantee it'll be as cool and awesome as mine because I'm really, really good at this.
Obviously.
But if you go to Hardy & Fuller in Denver, we have classes available all the way through the holidays. They make excellent gifts. In fact, we had such a huge influx of gift cards from last year that we were able to get a power hammer for the shop, and now we're having talks of expansion, so don't hesitate to get a gift card for someone else, or be selfish. Come meet me. We can talk about stuff. So if you're in Colorado, if you're in the Denver area, and you want to learn a little bit more about metalsmithing, and you just dip your toes in it, you always end up coming home with your own knife. No matter how wild the class gets, everybody ends up taking home their own projects. We don't just sit and talk. You actively get to do it. So check out Hardy & Fuller to learn how to make it. Check out Metalwork by Miola if you want to get one of mine.
Perfect. That's going to do it, everybody. Thanks again so much for listening. And do remember, like always, ignorance is not stupidity. It is the absence of knowledge. And I do hope you all learned something today.
See ya!
You've been listening to The Biographers. For more information, please visit thebiographerspodcast.com.